Hi, welcome to this month's monthly shift. My name is Lisa Lucas, and I am the CEO and founder of the Hive Nursing Development and the Hive Experience, which is the two companies that combine to create the Hive Nurses Network. Now, I can imagine that you're starting to get a little bit of a feel that there's a theme here. Yes, I have created an ecosystem, is the best way to describe it, where nurses and midwives can come from around the country and get career advice, support, help, connect with each other, get education, CPD points, anything they need to further their career and actually live a really fulfilling life that doesn't revolve around nursing, that nursing props up and not the other way around. Because I don't know about you, but it's very, very easy for us to almost be defined by this profession. And it can sometimes get really quite overwhelming. I've been in nursing for 25 years and it has been one of the greatest rides, but it's also had some of the biggest challenges of my life, navigating the minefield that is nursing. I come from a long line of nurses, so it has definitely been in my life since I turned up here. And while I absolutely adore the industry, I can see that there's some major cracks in the industry. And that's what led me to uplift the Hive. What I noticed as I went through my career is that more and more nurses are really struggling with getting the right kind of support. And this was particularly evident when we went through COVID, because more and more of us were taking on that extra burden. You know, we were needed everywhere. We just kept taking it on. There was no stop for us, and it was overwhelming. And this profession can be overwhelming anyway. And I don't feel like we've really got back to where we were. And it's just the systems are getting more overrun. We are getting more unsupported, not through lack of trying to help each other, but just we are outgrowing our healthcare system, and nurses are picking up the slack for a lot of that. So I kind of took a look at my career because it has been quite a successful one, and thought, well, how have I got from strength to strength every single time? Because even after COVID and during COVID, my career continued to excel. Now, when I say excel, I don't necessarily mean that it went into leadership. It did, but that doesn't mean that that has to be your trajectory in order for you to excel in this profession. I meant that it was fulfilling. I enjoyed it. I got something out of it. You know, being away from my family every day, I wanted to be able to really enjoy what I do, and I got the benefit of that. And I wanted to be able to bottle what I had and be able to help other people have the same thing. And what I realized is that I had invested a lot of time and money and energy into my own growth. And that's great, but there wasn't always the right kind of support in nursing for me to reach out to. So I had to go and find different people that would help me to navigate the minefield, particularly as I went into leadership, management, and then executive, because it's almost like you do that jump. And because we're great clinicians, we get the promotion, we go into those leadership roles, those management roles, and there's no rule book, there's no playbook, there's no one telling us how to do it. And I found it very difficult. So I had to go and find some mentors, some coaches, some people that could just give me the support, that just knew where I was going, had been there before, that I could reach out to and get that, shoulder, someone that could just lead me in the right direction, that could help me navigate the different challenges and different complexities of what was happening. Without a shadow of a doubt, those relationships have absolutely changed my life and my career. And so I wanted to be able to create a space where other people could get the same. So the Hive Nursing Development does mentoring and coaching. We help with every level, right from the early career nurse right up through to the executive level. And I've done it so that we can support as many nurses as possible. And I'll tell you a little bit later about where the Hive Nursing Development is going to be able to support more and more. But I also want to jump into the Hive Experience. Now, the Hive Experience was a love project of mine that has grown. I wanted to be able to bottle the experience of going away with the girls, because when we were, overwhelmed, when we got to that point of complete breaking or burnout, the one thing that always pulled me through was going away and having a weekend away with the girls, where you could just decompress. You could talk about all the challenges. They knew, because they were nurses as well. They understood what we were going through, and you just reset, right? I wanted to be able to recreate that for everybody. So the Hive experience was born. Now, we have multiple retreats. Yes, you get CPD. Yes, it's all about furthering your career, but it's also about connecting with other people that are going through with what you're going through in beautiful locations. You can just chill. You can get some real gold, some real value from some experienced leaders in the field, and you can move through your career with complete clarity, but you can also step out and just share some space with some other nurses. So I will tell you a little bit more about our retreats at the end, but I really want to jump into tonight's content. So tonight we're going to be talking about leadership. Now, this is really catered for those people that have already stepped into leadership, but definitely if you haven't, and this is something that you're just moving into, you will definitely get gold here. It's very, very entry level leadership, just starting to manage those minefields. So it really does cater to anybody. But one thing, these are the little tips, the little things that no one told me about when that was me stepping into it for the first time. So they may be basic, they may be revision, or you may pick up something that nobody's ever told you and you're like, that's simple, but it works. So I'm just going to share my screen and we're going to get into having a chat about leadership. Okay, navigating leadership. So like I said, this is something that nobody told me about when I stepped into leadership. I was just expected to know. Now, and it's almost like it organically happens. You become a leader without anybody ever telling you, oh my God, I'm a leader, because you start to lead the shift, you start to manage on the floor, and then next minute you've been put into these senior roles. And it's like, am I ready for this? But the biggest thing I noticed when I did step into that actual role, and I need to be clear here that leadership doesn't have to, it's not defined by a role. If people are following you, you are a leader. And I bet you can pick up a lot of instances where you're actually influencing the people around you and they are actually following what you're doing. That makes you a leader. Okay, so it's not defined to a role. But when I did step into these roles, I didn't actually anticipate just how quickly the overwhelm and the burnout and the expectations would pile up. Now, not everybody else was doing that. I was doing it to myself. So this is a little bit of tips and tricks for those of you that have done this and have experienced it, on how you can adjust the smallest things so that you can not endure leadership, but really enjoy it, because I absolutely do enjoy leadership very much. So it has really changed. It has really changed since I stepped into it. So I stepped into leadership probably 15 years ago, into actual management roles. And it's almost like it's just compounding. And particularly when I think about probably the worst roles, and when I say the worst, I mean the most workload that has continually piled up without sort of anything or anyone or any systems being able to take that pressure off, would be the nurse unit manager. And then obviously the executive roles are quite demanding, but there's almost like this expectation that they should be demanding because of the level they are, but it's still such a struggle. And the bigger your teams get, the roles don't really grow as quickly as your team can grow. So you get more responsibility. There's more ambiguity. There's more ambiguity around the roles. Got it out. And there's less margin for error. It's almost like we can't make mistake, and we're pushed to make decisions really quickly and not given the opportunity. And we don't give ourselves the opportunity to actually make considered choices sometimes. So we become fatigued. The thing is, and this is a really important point, that just because you're fatigued in these roles does not make you a failure. It makes you human. There's only so much you can take on, but it's also a huge red flag, and it's a big signal for you that it's time to do something. So something has to change. Otherwise, you are not going to be able to sustain the role. You're not going to be able to sustain the team. And it's actually going to burn you, and it's going to impact your team as well. So let's talk about when that happens and how you can remain authentic and still push the team forward, still be able to function really well while there is significant pressure. Okay. So when you're depleted, it actually impacts the way you're functioning. And I don't think that's new to anybody. Okay. You end up over functioning, as in you take more and more on, more and more. You just keep saying yes because you feel like you've got to. You absorb that emotional load. So everybody's coming to you for advice, for the challenges they have, decisions to be made, and you sort of absorb that load, and then it starts to impact your emotional load. You also, some people will actually start to tighten their control over a team or a unit or what's happening, which is very normal because they feel like if they can control it, then they can cope with it. And so it actually becomes a stranglehold or a bottleneck on what's happening. And then there is that element and that sort of that group as well that will just withdraw. So they just withdraw from everything. They're always in the office, or they're always, moving from the scene. It's because they're doing it as a coping mechanism a lot of the time. So as the pressure gets piled on, your leadership doesn't stop because people are still looking to you for influence. It actually shows what the red flags are, and it gets louder. So if you have elements of your leadership that can sometimes create challenge for you and for the people that you're leading, in those moments of pressure, if you don't recognize it and have strategies to shift it, it will actually get louder. And I bet, you're probably all sitting there thinking, oh, I know when this has happened. And this is probably one of the biggest things that comes out when we feel that pressure is our communication. Okay. And when we are overstimulated, when we're under pressure, when we have that cognitive load and that emotional load, we really do struggle to calibrate our communication or use it effectively in order to really make an impact and influence positively. So these are just a few things that you actually need to be aware of when you get to that point. You can feel the pressure, you can feel the workload, you can feel the frustration, so that you can regulate your communication style so that who you're leading is trusting you, because it's all about trust. It's all about knowing that you've got their back, but that you are also there to lead them forward. So a lot of times saying less is a better thing. And this is something that I've had to learn. I don't know if you can notice, but I do enjoy talking. So I always felt like I had to clarify everything, and I was like over clarifying everything. So then what I learned was that by saying less in those instances, in a lot of instances, and just taking in the information, and then only speaking when I had something really clear and articulate to actually put into the situation, meant a lot more than if I was continually trying to justify myself. So you're basically using the feedback, the information that you're getting, having a think about it, giving you more opportunity to make a calculated and considered decision and response to a situation. Setting boundaries is a big thing for me. Now, as an executive, it was a big job. There was a lot of expectations. I had a team of 160 direct reports. It was huge. And it was really important for me to set boundaries because I was very aware that there were things that I was not capable of being able to achieve. And I needed the team and those that I reported to be aware of those limitations. So things like if I wasn't on call and I had left for the day, I wasn't going to answer the phone because that is just not beneficial to my health or my well-being. There were people on call that could manage things when I wasn't there. If the whole thing was going to fall apart when I'm not there, then that's a real problem. That means I haven't set the team up in order to be able to deal with things, and haven't given the person that's handling the situation the right tools, the right support, the right structure in order to deal with it without me. Because imagine if your team can't cope with you not answering a phone call or you not answering an email because you've set a boundary, if they can't cope with that, what happens if you're not there one day? What happens if you're taken out of the situation? It's about empowering your team, but setting those boundaries for yourself. Okay. And then being transparent without over explaining. Okay. You don't need to give them all the details. And this sort of leans into the say less and mean more situation, but you don't have to give every single detail to be transparent. But it is important to be transparent about what's happening. And this can particularly be an issue when you're in exec, because sometimes there are things that you can't be transparent about. But keeping people in the loop, making sure they know that there's something happening or there's things happening, giving them the information you can, being as upfront as you can really helps with keeping the trust there for your team, but also keeping those lines of communication open. They know they can ask you questions. They know they're going to get a response. So I think that's really, really important. And if you can implement those three things, particularly in moments of real crisis, you will be able to not cope, you'll actually be able to manage the whole complexity of the situation much more efficiently for you and for the team. Now, this is a big thing, and I've done a whole presentation on this particular topic, but decision making when you're under pressure is not always the best decisions we make. So the best leaders, the ones that make the most impact in these situations, is the ones that are incredibly considered, and they don't respond quickly, they respond clearly. And that you're thinking, that is easier said than done, Lisa, because when you've got 50 people, you're in a recess or something's happening and you've got all these people, all this, external triggers coming at you, you have to make a decision quickly. And we're taught that as nurses, make the decision quickly. Fast is good. You don't have to take 5 minutes to be considered. You just have to take a couple of seconds. So one of the biggest tips I was taught early on in my ED career, because I specialized in ED for many, many years. One of the things I got taught was when something's happening and you can feel the pressure mounting and you can feel you're getting anxious and you can feel like this pressure's on me, I have to make a decision here. You only have to take a couple of seconds to take a breath. It gives your body enough time to slow the heart rate, get some oxygen to your brain, because that's important if you're making a decision, and take in all of the external factors that you've been put, all the information, all the input, all the feedback, to be able to make a really considered decision. Okay. So it's really easy when you're not having those, little strategies in order to make sure that you're making clear decisions, to actually react rather than respond, which is the biggest thing. Okay. Reaction causes often more drama, more challenge, more issues than if you take those couple of seconds and then you're able to respond clearly. One tip I use is taking the breath, but I always say to myself, that's interesting. It gives you just enough time to clear the mind and then go, okay, what's the next step? Excuse me. And you are not then reacting to a situation, you're responding to it, you're being clear, not urgent, because urgency is a condition, not a leadership value. Okay. The best leaders are not the ones that are super, super quick off the mark. They are the ones that when they respond, they do it efficiently and they do it with clarity. Okay, leadership growth is a refinement. It's something that it's not something that you're a leader, you become a leader, and all of a sudden that's you're perfect now. Like it's a continual growth, and you need to actually continually check in. Excuse me. You need to actually continually check in to see what's no longer serving you anymore and what do you need to stop carrying. This comes into the boundaries thing again, and that emotional load and cognitive load that you start to take on as more and more things get thrown at you through leadership. So this is a really quick couple of questions you can ask yourself every probably quarter. I would do this and say, okay, I've reached a tipping point, or it's been a few months since I've done this, and just do a recalibration of where I'm at now. And I have a think, okay, what is no longer serving me? What's no longer serving the team? Where can I make a pivot? Where can I make a change? Is it something in my behavior, the way I respond, the way I do things that I can change? Is it something about the system? Is it something about workflows, processes? What is it that's no longer serving me and no longer serving the team? And then what do I need to stop carrying around? Because we carry everything. And you need to actually continually reassess those boundaries, that safe space that you're working in. Okay, because you can't take everybody's issues home. You can't take on the responsibility of an entire health service, which sometimes it feels like, even in the numb role, you think, oh, I'm taking the responsibility of this entire unit. You can't. That's not possible for one human to do that and have longevity or sustainability. Okay, you are allowed to evolve as a leader. You are allowed to change yourself, your style, how you approach things. And you should be, because growth is about continually moving forward. And as you grow, so does your team. They are looking to you for that shining North Star. So that's a little bit of, like I said, some quick tips on, and it's mostly around that huge workload that we get thrown at with, just going to stop sharing. It's around that huge workload that we get thrown when we're thrown into these roles, because it's massive, right? It's just it can be so overwhelming. Those are really helpful tips that I learned through my leadership career that have actually changed how I approach things. The recalibration is a game changer. The stopping and taking a minute so you can make considered decisions, definitely a game changer, particularly if you're working in a fast-paced environment or if you're in a high level position where your decisions are impacting the many. So when I was at the exec level, that was definitely the case, because I couldn't make rash decisions because the impact of the entire team, which was huge, right? So you need to have that minute. You need to be able to be considered. And the boundaries, I set that for all my team. You need to have boundaries. You're not going to sustain this if you don't. Nursing in general, you need to have those boundaries. So what are they for you? What's a non-negotiable? I have 3 children. I needed to be there for them. I can't take my work home every day, because at the end of the day, nursing's what I do. It's not who I am. Okay. So it needed to be very clear that this is the boundaries I'm willing to accept, and this is what I can. And when I was there, 150%, my team got all my attention. But when I'm home because I'm not just a nurse. I'm mum too. I'm a wife. I'm Lisa. So I hope you got some helpful tips there on leadership. I also wanted to share some of my favorite leadership books I love to read. If you're not a huge reader, Audible books, these are magic, and you can get all 3 of these on Audible. I know because I have them on both. Simon Sinek, he's great. Leaders Eat Last. He's fantastic. Obviously, if you haven't heard of Simon, you can get a lot of his YouTube videos online. He's just fantastic. But I really liked this one. Okay, gives you a really good look at, what a real leader is, and what some of the things that, some of the best leaders do. Eating last. I always used to eat first, but a good book. This one, look, oh my God, there's dust and notes. This one's awesome. I love this one. And I actually do, there's activities in it. I'll tell you what it is. It's John Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership. You can actually Google the 5 levels of leadership and you can find his activities and workbooks, and you can send your team some of the quizzes, because they ask, you can find out what level of leadership you are at, but also get your team to tell you what level of leadership they think you're at. And then it's really helpful to be able to say, okay, well, most of my team might be a level 3. I'd really like to get them to a level 4. Who's at a level 1 and 2? Hopefully you got no level 1s. When you read it, you'll understand, in your team. And then, who are the people that we really need to focus on? Level 5 are your visionaries. They're like, your Martin Luther Kings of the world. That people just follow them because they're talking. They're really cool. Very cool book. I use it a lot. I've used it with all my teams a lot, whether they've realized it or not. Really, really good. The other one is tribal leadership. This one, if you haven't heard of it, is actually really popular. I loved this one. It was a way of explaining this type of leadership that I'd never really heard of, because, if you've been in leadership, you've heard of different types of leadership. This one was really good at explaining it really articulately, but also where I fit into that. Am I a tribal leader? I do have components of it, definitely. But it was really cool, and picked up some key tips on how you can just be more, with your team, approachable around them, all of those kinds of things. So really cool. So those are my 3 favorites. So if you haven't read those ones, definitely worth checking it out. Now I'm going to play a presentation for you guys now, because I actually partner with quite a few other brands and quite a few other people. And the reason that I partner with them is I've actually sought specific partners that I can show to nurses and midwives that provide a service that is helpful for a nurse or a midwife. Now, it's all about making sure that we are living an optimal life, that we're taking care of ourselves, and that we're getting the support, not just in your career, okay? It's about the whole human. So your health, your well-being, your emotional well-being, your family. So I've connected your financial health as well. I do have a partner that helps with that. So every month I try and get one of my partners on here just to show you guys what they do, so that if that's something that you're really struggling with, you've got somebody that's trusted that you can go to that can help you with that. So this is the guys from Next Level Health. They are all about, optimizing your physical health, both with diet and nutrition and exercise and all of those kinds of things. But they also do some biometric testing if they need to. So it's really getting down to the nitty-gritty of the person. So I'm not going to talk much more about what they do, because I'm going to let them do that. So I'm just going to show you their presentation. This is Mitch and Stu from Next Level.
All right. Hi, guys. My name is Mitchell Potts, and I'm a naturopath and health coach and have been for over 15 years. Today, we're going to be talking about energy, sleep, metabolism for nurses and midwives specifically. And what we'll learn today is how and why shift work can beat up the body, and what we can do to fix it without extremes. So you guys spend your days looking after other people's health, right? So today is a chance to talk about yours. Why can shift work break the body, and how can we fix it? So first off, I just want to start with something that's obvious and it really gets said out loud. And that is that nursing and midwifery are extremely hard on the body. You guys deal with shift work, broken sleep, long-standing hours. You've got hormone disruption, you've got gut issues, you've got stress, and even infection exposure as well. And most of the time, you're doing it tired. Now, that's not a personal failing, but it's an occupational environment that asks biological systems to do something that they were never designed to do. So what we do know is that the human body runs on rhythm, right? And so your brain and your organs are like routine, but shift work can break that rhythm. So when your light exposure, meal timing, sleep and movement change day to day, your hormones have to scramble to keep up. So you guys would understand cortisol. And so cortisol spikes, you have insulin signaling changes, you have hunger hormones rise, you also have cravings go up, you've got mood dips, and also your metabolism can slow down as well. And so we get a lot of people who come into us with these similar issues, and mostly due to shift work. So from the outside, it can just look like tiredness, and on the inside, it feels like low energy, cravings, brain fog, weight's creeping up. You might get anxiety. You might get poor sleep, worsening PMS. You might get neck or back pain, and that classic, oh, I'm exhausted even on my days off sort of feeling. Now, the other big picture is inflammation, right? So we have stress, poor sleep now, we've got irregular eating, we've got a poor diet, sometimes we'll throw in alcohol, and poor recovery that all push inflammatory chemicals higher. And what we know is that inflammation is a huge driver of fatigue, weight gain, pain, low mood, and even a slow recovery. And so when you see it in every shift in your patients, so it's not news to you guys, but we rarely apply it to ourselves. And that's what we want to uncover. But there's also a gut piece that I want to talk about. Now, there's the gut microbiome that can shift within 24 hours due to sleep changes, food timing, obviously the types of food that you're consuming. And so when the gut changes, we get changes in our immunity, our mood, hunger levels, and even hormones will change too. So now you've got poor sleep, disrupted hormones, disrupted appetite, disrupted immunity. So then you're more prone to illness, and also inflammation is increased as well. And these are all playing off each other. But the good news, guys, that the body will respond very fast when you give it the right inputs. So when we rebuild rhythm and give the cells better fuel, we start to see fewer cravings. We start to see more stable energy. We get deeper sleep. We get better mood, and the weight begins to normalize. And what I want to say is that you don't need perfection here because that would be impossible. You just need rhythm and consistency. So here's an example. Excuse me. We have Sarah. She's a 32-year-old registered nurse, so you guys can relate. She had constant sugar cravings. She was falling asleep on her days off, and every day she was consuming 4 coffees just to function. So what we did, we adjusted her protein intake at the first meal. So what we actually did, we gave Sarah meat for the first meal of the day, along with some nuts. That's a high protein, high fat meal. We improved her caffeine timing because the first thing she used to do when she woke up was have a coffee. So what we did, we told her to drink it about 1 to 2 hours later after waking, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, why that is. And we added in a simple strength program she could do around her shifts. Okay, and just within 5 weeks, she went from 4 coffees to one. Her sleep stabilized, her energy returned, and she actually dropped 3 kilos without even trying to diet. Another case study, we have Jess. She's a 29-year-old midwife. She had PMS, she had bloating, she had anxiety, and also some neck pain. What we did was we improved her gut rhythm. And what that means, we said we want her to eat balanced meals with no snacking and at the correct times of the day for her because her shift work was changing for that. We also gave her some natural digestive secretion formula to help with her stomach acid and the bloating. Her stress was really high also, so we increased her magnesium intake and we gave her some adaptogenic and anxiolytic herbs, right, to calm it all down. And we also made sure that her protein, like before, we had protein in her first meal, and we also gave her a basic movement plan, which was just a home workout 'cause she was a bit anxious about going to the gym. Um, and this also helps to reset her body clock much faster with the working out. That's why it's a part of it. And within 1 month, her PMS halved, her bloating disappeared completely, and her anxiety settled. Again, guys, this is nothing extreme. We also have Mark, who's a 41-year-old emergency department nurse. Now, Mark had a lot of fatigue and wasn't sleeping well. But what he was actually doing was strength training, but he was overtraining for how recovered he was. And we know this because we looked at his heart rate variability and it was really low. So that indicates that they're under recovering. So for Mark, what we did was a diet overhaul because at the time he was consuming a typical westernized diet, right? He was eating out of vending machines and a lot of fast food restaurants nearby his work. And so, as much as he hated us for making him cook healthy, balanced, meals regularly, he was loving life because his energy improved massively. His training got easier, and he started sleeping properly again. And yes, he started even getting leaner, even though that wasn't a goal for Mark. Now, let's talk about something that you can actually do yourselves straight away. Okay. So, 3 simple wins that work for most shift workers. Number one, we've got eat protein at every meal, but especially breakfast. This can dramatically cut cravings over the course of the day. And then we've got two, don't have caffeine in the first hour of waking. Let cortisol naturally do its job by waking you up. And also, don't let your adenosine, which is a sleepy molecule, clears out before caffeine. And so, what happens there when you drink caffeine? It basically blocks the receptor for adenosine. So adenosine sits there, and until the caffeine wears off, then this adenosine comes back, and that's when it makes you a bit tired or a bit sleepy. And that's where you'd be looking to have another coffee because you never cleared that adenosine fully that morning. And then we have three. We want you to drink water with electrolytes after night shifts. This will help reduce inflammation and also improve your recovery. So, guys, once again, none of this is fancy. It's just biology done well. Now, you might be thinking that I already know some of this, and that may be true. But from my experience and others, knowing is not the issue because if willpower solved it, you would have solved it years ago. Now, what most of you don't have, though, is a routine, a structured plan, feedback, or support. And what you do have, though, is a demanding job and no system built for that job. So, in the clinic setting, I work in the area of human performance, and a big part of my job is to work with people just like you. We have nurses, midwives, shift workers, and people with really high stress jobs. And so the problem you're dealing with are the problems that we see every single week. And they're very fixable when you just address the basics properly. I'm going to pass over to Stu, who's going to finish off this presentation.
Hi, everyone. So look, my background is basically in business leadership. I started my career in the military, and I've always had a relatively high pressure job and high pressure and operating in high pressure environments. I've always trained fairly well and looked after my health in general. I've always tried to eat well, make sure I'm doing the right movement and all the other things, that lead to a healthy and energetic life. Last year, though, things weren't working for me. I'm a parent of a toddler, so sleep was broken. In general, my energy was low. I had insomnia, wasn't sleeping really well at all, had brain fog, and just generally felt off. Something had to change. So I started working with Mitch on a one-on-one basis, and after a short couple of weeks looking at everything holistically, looking at nutrition, looking at movement, everything that goes into it, I started to notice a difference. And after a few months, the changes were drastic, which is how how our programs came about. Mitch and I realized that there was an opportunity to open this type of work up to everyone, particularly those that put themselves last. They work in environments that's high pressure, high stress, stressful on their body, and they just feel like the decline in their day-to-day feeling is normal. So today we've got an offer specifically for you guys connected to the Hive, because we want to give back to you guys. You give back and give a lot of your energy and time to helping other people. So we want to give back to you. Basically, we're going to offer a couple of things for you completely free, starting with our 30-day program. And what that includes is basically nutrition planning, exercise planning that fits around your lifestyle, including shift work, so you can exercise at home or at the gym, whichever you prefer. Educational webinars. There's no serious hard calorie counting, and there's no supplements required. It's basically an opportunity for you to reset your body and lifestyle in 30 days under a structured, formatted way to show you the results that you can actually get, not by focusing on perfection, but consistency. So we've specifically built it around busy lives, and we've made it flexible to fit into your unique situation. So there's short workouts, like I said before. You can absolutely do it at home or at the gym, or a mixture of both, up to you. There's flexible meals. It's not very strict. You don't have to follow this criteria or you get kicked out. There's no guilt. If you miss something or you can't do something on a day, it's move on and move on to the next day. There's no guilt around not ticking boxes. It's all about progress and not perfection. So what's included? As I mentioned, you get full nutrition planning for the month, you get exercise planning, you get some coaching, community, and you get some tracking tools as well. Now, we do have some other options for those that are a little bit more serious, that might be paid, but we can discuss that with you one-on-one once you sign up to this. But for everyone right now, tonight, you can absolutely access this 30-day program for free. So all you need to do is scan the QR code. It's a very simple form. All you need to give is your name, phone number, and email, and you'll get instant access to the program. So there's no friction between there. It's literally immediate access. As an added bonus, everyone that signs up to the program tonight will go into the draw to win a 12-week program of your choice. So it's either nutrition or exercise or movement based, and we'll announce that winner at the end of the month. So jump on, take advantage of the free program specifically and exclusively for you, the Hive, as well as going into the draw to win that 12-week program. We really look forward to you guys jumping on board and start to make some change in your life, and hopefully get you moving for 2026. Just a quick closeout. Obviously, nursing and midwifery won't suddenly become easier careers, but doing these programs or taking some steps to improve your day-to-day will make you more resilient and make your work easier in that sense. So thanks for your time tonight. We really appreciate it and look forward to working with you all.
I hope you guys got some value from that. I loved talking to them. And if you're interested in knowing a little bit more, or you just want to hear a little bit more about what the guys do, I have done an interview with them, and you will be able to access that via my podcast, which is This Won't Hurt a Bit. It will be released in the next couple of weeks, so you'll be able to jump on and listen to more about Mitch and Stu, and where they've come from and what they do. And it was a great chat. So if you haven't seen the podcast, you can head over to Spotify, Apple, iTunes, all of those. It's on all of the streamers. We haven't recorded for a while, so we're just getting back into it, but there's plenty of episodes there. And then keep an eye out for the next episode with Stu and Mitch, where you can learn a bit more. Now, I did promise you I was going to tell you a little bit more about our retreats. We have a few retreats this year. We have one in Cambodia at the end of the year in November. Very excited about that one. It is a partnership with Global Transitions, and Global Transitions is a non-for-profit organization that goes to Cambodia and takes volunteers to help build houses for families in need. So the Hive has partnered up, and we are actually going to be doing leadership training at the same time as assisting Global Transitions with their non-for-profit work, building some houses, giving back to a community, and checking out Cambodia. We're going to go to Angkor Wat, 5-star accommodation. It's going to be amazing. I'm taking my whole family on this retreat, so you'll be able to get to meet my kids and everything. And if you'd like to bring your whole family, it's completely open to anyone who wants to come. You will get CPD while you're there. So it's a good little opportunity to travel, get your CPD, do some leadership training. It's all incorporated, so it's not going to take up all your retreat time, and you're not going to be able to spend time with your family if you bring them. I would absolutely recommend that if you're thinking about doing the Cambodia retreat, that you do bring your significant other and your family along, because it's an amazing experience. And we will be doing more than one of those a year, but this year we're actually only doing the one in November. We're also going to Bali. Now, Bali retreat is not something you want to bring your family to. Bali, the Hive Escape, is all about looking after you. So it's spa treatments and chilling out. And what else? We've got there's a float pool, 5-star accommodation, your food sorted most meals for each day. It's all inclusive. Everything's inclusive. We're going to do day trips. We're going to do some activities that come there. It's again got CPD included. So that'll be really cool. You can get your CPD done and dusted while you chill out as well. It's all about well-being. It's all about burnout. It's all about resilience. It's all about actually putting strategies in place to prevent that, overload that we get. And again, it's all about, recreating that girls' trip. It's going to be amazing. So that's on the 1st to the 6th of June in Bali. Now, the next retreat we have is the Reset and Refocus. Now, let me just share my screen again. Now, this one is on the 2nd to the 5th of March. So it's coming up very soon. It is all inclusive, 5 days, and it's all about your career. So what we're doing, this is a beautiful location. This is set in Talabudgera. That's some of the accommodation. That's where we're actually going to be doing the education every day in the beautiful lounge. That's where we're going to be chilling out every evening, having a couple of drinks. There's a hot spa, a cold plunge, and then just normal temperature pool. So that you'll find me in there with a champagne every night, hanging out with you guys. This is going to be our view each morning, where we're going to do some yoga every morning. Anyone that wants to do some breath work, we can do that. We can do some meditation as well if you're into that. That's our afternoon delight, where we're going to sit on those lounge chairs, have a chat about your career, and we're going to just really enjoy the space together. And then, as I mentioned, the yoga. Now, the Reset and Refocus retreat is all about you and your career. We spend the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday doing some CPD, like I said, in the lounge. It's quite intimate. It's quite lovely. We get the whole retreat location to ourselves. And we're going to go from start to finish to map out what your career looks like now. What if you did a pivot? What if you didn't? What if you left? What if you stayed? What if you went to a new role? What does that look like? Because a lot of the time we don't know what the next step is. We just know that we need a next step. Something needs to shift. We're just not sure. Sometimes we know what the shift is, but we just don't know how to get there, or we just need a little bit of support, a little bit of guidance. By the end of the 3 days, you'll have a 90-day plan on what you're going to do. And then you also get one-on-one mentoring with me post the retreat, so that you can, make sure that you're able to actually implement that 90-day plan, get back to really enjoying what you're doing and not making your whole life about what your job is, but enjoying it, incorporating it, making sure that it aligns with the things that you value most. Because when I was able to go through that activity and do a lot of this work that I'm going to be sharing with you at this retreat, it actually changed my life. It changed how I react to work. It changed how I incorporate the things I love into work. And it was something that I had never opened my eyes at. And the thing is, after doing this work, I actually didn't change my job or my role for 2 years. And I actually felt so fulfilled and so grateful for my job. It's not about, I'm only going to see the positive. That's not what this is about. It's about understanding what's important to you now and how your career feeds it. And if it doesn't, well, what do I need to shift in order to make sure I do? So that's coming up. It's going to be an amazing retreat. So if you would like to come, I've spelled Gold Coast wrong. Lovely. If you would like to come to the retreat, just head to www.thehiveexperience.com.au. You can check out the Reset and Refocus retreat. You can pay it off It's like I said, it's all inclusive. If you want to do twin share, it's obviously cheaper. We have a lot of payment options. You don't have to have the full thing paid before you attend, which is great. You can also finance. So it starts at $3,995 all inclusive if it's twin share, $4,995 if you come on your own. Yes, you will get CPD. Yes, professional development opportunities are generally tax deductible. So this one would be the same, although you do need to check with your accountant about your personal experiences. But generally, yes, these are tax deductible because you do get CPD points. The CPD is all aligned with the NMBA standards. So if you're audited, you're all good. You've proven that you've done actually 21 hours of CPD, and then you get a few more hours post-retreat as well. Plus, you become an official member of the Hive Nurses Network, and you get lots and lots of resources, lots and lots of webinars, lots and lots of everything I can give you guys. So if you'd like to come to the Gold Cost retreat in March, please reach out. You can also contact me directly on info@thehivedevelopment.com.au, or you can head to the website and fill out an inquiry form, and one of the team will get in contact with you to talk you through that. But like I said, very, very well worth coming to this retreat. If you know that you need to pivot, if you know that there's something that needs to change, that it can't stay the same anymore, you need to be at this retreat. Okay, so get in while you can. I'm actually going to close bookings for this in the next week because I need to give final numbers to the venue. So if you want to get in, it has to be in the next week. So contact me, guys, and get on that. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate you guys and connecting with all of you. Thank you so much for reaching out. Please share this with anyone that you think it might be helpful for, and let them know. We're here every month. I record this stuff every month to send out to you guys, and it's all about adding value. It's all about giving you guys that little bit of help and support that you need. So thanks so much, guys. See ya.